Messiah, you got hurt during all of this. It's not a surprise, but what happened to you?
I have multiple injuries all over my body. My wrist is cracked. I have 20 stitches in my forearm. I have bruises all over my ribs. And I had a taser in my back for about 8 hours.
What do you mean you had a taser in your back for 8 hours? You mean that what they shot, it stayed in there?
Yes. Initially, some of them were removed, but I informed them that I still had a taser in my back, and it was not taken out of me until around 2 or 3 a.m. And I got tased at around 9:30.
Oh my God. And do you remember being tased? When we look at that video, it looks as though you almost sort of lose control of your limbs. It looks as though you're kind of convulsing. What was it like in that moment?
It's probably one of the hardest moments that I've had to face in my life. I can't even fathom what happened. At this point, I'm just so far gone. It's like I'm trying to remove myself from that situation, but it's really hard to cope with.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Messiah. I don't want us to, re-traumatize you. I understand that you guys are still really raw from all of this. And Tanaya, I've read that you said that you just didn't know that you were going to survive that night. I mean, what happened when the cops came up? Did you think that you might be killed?
Yes, I thought I might be killed. And the reason I thought that is because there was nothing done that was not right. So when they're coming up to the car, I'm just thinking, what could we have done? You know what I mean? What could we have done to cause this? And when I think in my mind, when I realize we haven't done anything, you know what I mean? Nothing really warranted this. So after I realized none of this really had a reason, I was just thinking, okay, this is the end. This doesn't have a reason, so I can't really justify or think about, are we going to, you know what I mean? It's just yeah, we are. This doesn't have a reason, and if this attack happened, I didn't really understand what other reason could have been. I was just confused with the whole situation. Thought it was over.
Of course you were. Of course you were. Messiah, is it true that you said to the cops, you yelled at the cops, "I'm not dying today"?
That's really was my whole mentality. Once they approached the car, they literally swarmed the car, and I just was shell-shocked. I've seen this situation so many times, we have George Floyd, we have so many people dying, and it's just senseless. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all these people are dying every day, and people are out protesting for this reason, and it's still happening at these protests. We see this literally daily, and it's just not okay.
Yeah. Mr. Davis, have the authorities given you any idea, any explanation or justification for why they would think two college students who weren't even involved in the protests, who were just in a traffic jam trying to drive through it, would have a gun in the car?
There is no explanation, so they couldn't give one. They, again, as we've seen in the past, attempt to assassinate the character of these young people by saying there was a gun. There was never a gun. These are two great college students from two fine universities, from great families. So the typical character assassination that they attempt to do just won't work here. That's why I think it was so important that the mayor moved swiftly, that the district attorney moved swiftly, because the message has to be clear. The culture in policing in America and in Atlanta must change, and it must change immediately, or innocent people risk literally losing their lives.
And Mr. Stewart, even when they survive, I mean, I think that Messiah and Tanaya are giving us a great lesson right now in even if you survive an incident like that, it stays with you. The trauma, the physical trauma of what they endured, the emotional trauma, the fear, I mean, that becomes embedded. And it becomes, I mean, we've heard over the past 8 days from so many of our wonderful guests, it becomes embedded in the entire collective conscience of Black folks. And, you know, I mean, I see these kids, these are great college students. I don't know how they are supposed to get past this.
Well, just look at where I am now. I'm up here in Minneapolis representing the daughter of George Floyd. That's the future of what happens to children that we represent now if we don't stop this. That's why Attorney Davis and I are fighting these so hard, so that they don't become George Floyd's.
Yeah. Tanaya, what was your thought when you heard that the 6 officers have been charged with excessive force?
When I got the news that they were charged, I was very happy, because this is a small step. Like, accountability is so important in all of this, and so many times we see cops able to do things, you know, and not be held accountable for them. And I'm happy that I'm happy that at least this is happening now, and I hope that this continues. And it has to continue, honestly. It has to continue, or this won't end.
And Tanaya, what about what I was just talking about with Mr. Stewart? What about the lingering effects of this? How do you begin to get past this?
I haven't even processed the situation and everything that happened. I haven't even sat down and took a moment to really think, oh my gosh, like this just happened to me. You know what I mean? So I think the lingering effects are traumatizing. Like, it all happened so fast. You can't mentally prepare for that. So when something so devastating happens, when there's no preparation, there's, no explanation, there's almost no way to get over it. All I can hope for is, like I said, is for people to be held accountable. Because I don't want this to continue to happen and have more victims like us who are traumatized, who can't sleep, can't eat. I don't want that for anyone else. This is disgusting, and this isn't right.
Messiah, what do you want from our leaders? What can happen now?
Change is really all that needs to come from this. There needs to be a total reset in policing, the culture of policing, the way citizens and authority react and interact with one another. It needs to be, a sense of trust and safeness and security when dealing with law enforcement. We just need to see a total shift in the way things are done, because at this point, we're going to continue having these protests. We're going to continue losing Black lives, brown lives, even, there just really needs to be a whole, new reform at this point.